What's happening, my peoples? As you can see, the topic is the most comic book accurate live action Batman is found in the DCEU. We're going to get into my face just disappeared from the screen. We're going to get into right now. First, of course, we're going to have a passage of scripture first. Passage of scripture. So let's get into it, shall we? Passage of scripture I read today comes from Psalms 118. It says, "It's better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. It's better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in princes." That's huge. Because I know a lot of us, we really have confidence in what other human beings say based on their status and based on their qualifications. You know, I mean, if the doctor says something to you, you actually put stock into it. You put weight into it. You know, if you listen to people on television, the politicians, you listen to the analysts, you listen to the people who are qualified in education, etc., you put your confidence in that. Well, why don't you put your confidence in God all the more? That's what this is saying. And it's really good because, again, if you put confidence in goodness, if you put confidence in the positive qualities, you will get results. So that's what that basically is saying right there. We're going to look at Batman, like we said before, in the DCEU. We're going to be looking at him, and it's going to get to be a very interesting discussion. So let me get into it real quick with you guys. So I'm going to go to screen share really quickly. Screen share, boop, up we pop, and in front of you right now, you should be seeing our first meme. Basically, when you look at this meme, it's basically saying that Ben Affleck's Batman, when you look at Ben Affleck's Batman in Justice League, I know it's kind of like a blue hue in Justice League, but actually Batman was wearing a blue suit in Justice League. Isn't that interesting? He was wearing a blue suit in the beginning of Justice League. When we first see Batman, he's wearing a blue suit, and we also see him later on when he's dealing with Superman, reviving Superman, bringing him back to life. He's actually in a blue suit, as you can see here. This is the blue suit right here that he was wearing in Justice League. What's very interesting about that is it's a callback to Blue Suit Batman. And a lot of people don't know, yes, Batman in the original Batman comics, he was dressed in blue and gray, as you can see here. But actually, there's a callback to Batman in the blue suit. And that happened, first of all, in Batman 1966 and onwards. And we also saw him in Super Friends wearing that blue suit. It's actually a mirror image of Adam West's Batman. And again, we see Adam West's Batman in Batman: The Return of the Caped Crusaders just before, I think it was in 2016 or 2017, just before Adam West died, right? But what's cool about this is it's basically a callback to comic book Batman, where one of the earliest versions of comic book Batman in 1940, he was wearing a gray. It's basically a gray suit. It's kind of bluish gray, but it's more gray, and he wore blue. And you can see that the his cowl was actually very much like this cowl here, but you know, most of the suit here is blue instead of gray. Okay, but other than that, this is an interesting callback to that. Now, this suit from Super Friends, this suit here, Adam West's suit, the color scheme is kind of similar to this. Of course, this is gray, this is blue. But what's even more interesting about it is, if you look very carefully, the cowl is different. So Adam West's cowl is a little bit different. But what I like about it is Adam West's Batman also had small pointy ears. And this Batman here in Batman issue #1 with Batman and Robin also had small pointy ears. So it's, you know, I just thought this was just really cool for people to know. Now, there were some other actors who actually posed in the blue suit, but Adam West's Batman is probably the closest to this original Batman in terms of color scheme. In fact, sometimes Adam West's Batman actually wore a gray suit along with a blue cowl and cape and blue boots. Okay. And throughout, you know, the times in the comics, you see Batman in gray and blue for a certain period of time. So it's very interesting to look at that. And just to show you the other actors who actually wore a blue suit, we had Val Kilmer, and we also had George Clooney. He had two variations. George Clooney had two variations of the blue suit. And what's interesting about that is when you look at all those suits, they basically follow the Tim Burton sort of formula of how to do a suit. So therefore, they're less resembling the original Batman's suit. You find that Ben Affleck's own looks much more organic and actually looks more like the blue suit. And again, these different shades of blue also kind of throw us off from the, the very metallic blue and stuff. And this is more looks like a blue that looks like, corresponds to the kind of the cape even, and the cowl and everything kind of corresponds to the original blue and gray suit of Batman. So I thought that was very interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Now, also, and that's just the first thing about the DCEU Batman that shows that, is pulling from the comics. Now, it's not completely pulling from the comics, obviously, because he's all in blue here. But the point is, it's much closer to the comics than these suits here, as you can clearly see. And then when you look at Batman v Superman's Batman, who had the black and gray suit, we haven't seen that ever in live action on film. Now, we've seen it in live action before in the earlier versions of Batman. I'll go into that in a minute. But the very earliest depictions of Batman actually had that blue and gray suit. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see that. All right, so there you go. There's the blue and gray suit. This is the very first debut of Batman we have ever seen, and that's the blue and gray suit right there. And that suit is basically what Ben Affleck actually used. You can't see it so much here. The lighting's a little bit darker in BVS, but that's what he was wearing, a blue and gray suit. And also it's a call to, of course, Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns Batman, which also has a blue and gray suit, and he's much more hulking than the original Batman that debuted in Detective Comics. And of course, he was known as the Batman. He wasn't known as Batman at the time. And so you find even the animated, The Dark Knight Returns animated movie, you see Batman in that blue suit, and then he has that trademark big bat symbol on his chest. So this is even closer to what it is. But what I like about it is Zack Snyder actually went to the origins of Batman. From the very first debut of Batman, we saw that kind of Batman there. No other Batman, except for in the television series, 2 television series, had a Batman like that. And the other cool thing about this is that, of course, here there's, a different sort of, they got a different hue here. So this looks kind of bluish green, but he's actually gray. He has a gray suit on there. And if you look at him again, very hulking kind of Batman here. And it reminds us of the Dark Knight Batman, very hulking Batman. And so that's really cool. I find this, awesome. Of course, he doesn't have the Victorian wear on, but other than that, he really does remind us of the original first Batman. And that's always cool to note. And again, comic book accurate. And I'll show you what I mean, because, well, we'll talk about that later. And then we have Gotham by Gaslight Batman. And basically Ben Affleck's what we call Nightmare Batman, when he is having the nightmare, basically is a reflection of Gotham by Gaslight Batman. So again, you can look at all the different depictions of Gotham by Gaslight. So here's the novel here, Gotham by Gaslight here, and that's the novel Batman right there. This is Ben Affleck's Batman depicted from Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, what they call Nightmare Batman. There he is again. This is him with the goggles on. Okay, and there's Gotham by Gaslight Batman, very, very similar in how he's got his stuff on. See, very similar. And then, of course, we have the animated movie of it. So there he is there, just showing you all the different versions and just how cool it is that Ben Affleck's Batman actually reflects all of that. And that's another comic book. It's an Elseworld comic, but nonetheless, like The Dark Knight Returns. But nonetheless, they pulled from that Elseworld comic. It wasn't just some creator doing some sort of arbitrary design like these here, which have no resemblance to the comic book counterparts, okay? None whatsoever. And so that's important to kind of understand that even when you look at, well, I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, so that was a first in terms of bringing forth the original black and gray Batman and his black and gray Batman design. We saw the blue, a nod to the blue and gray Batman, even though he was in blue and gray. And just to mention here that this is, in some ways, George Clooney's this is a kind of a nod to the blue and gray as well. It's metallic colors, but it's still a nod to the blue and gray. Okay, so I just thought I would mention that. And these are all metallic colors. And then after Gotham by Gaslight Batman, we also had the mech suit Batman in the mech suit. And again, this has to do with the Dark Knight Returns, call back to it. And you can see that there's a lot of commonalities between the mech suit Batman and Batman from Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. And you can just see it all here. In fact, some of the motion, like when Batman punched Superman and knocked him down, that's literally depicted in Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, besides Batman also kicking Superman or attempting to kick him. And so, and many other things, many other cases where, Superman gets, he tries to shock Superman. He tries to shoot Superman. He uses the sonic stuff on Superman. There's a lot of sequences and instances and even sayings that were pulled off of The Dark Knight Returns. And we all know that. But I just was showing you that we had mech suit Batman as well. And that comes from the comics. So what I liked about Zack Snyder was he was pulling looks that actually paralleled what was in the comics. And that's why we say he's the most accurate depiction of Batman. And finally, we have the tactical suit Batman. And that tactical suit actually comes off of Christopher Nolan's, which people don't realize. It's Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. So The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises has a tactical suit Batman. And the very first Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy movie, which is Batman Begins, is nothing like any of these Batman. But when you go to The Dark Knight in 2008, in 2009, we had the Arkham games that started to begin. I think the first one was Batman, I think it was Arkham, something like that, Batman Arkham or something like that. The Arkham game came in 2009. The Telltale series came a little bit later, but all of those really patented themselves after The Dark Knight. And even the New 52 tactical suit Batman is patterned after The Dark Knight. And you can see that this is sort of a nod not only to Christopher Nolan, but also to the comics. This is like a New 52 looking Batman. There's many versions of this New 52 looking Batman. We got the Injustice Batman. We got the DCEU, that is the DC Universe Batman. That had to do with when they were fighting Lex Luthor and, the Cyborg there and the Batman there. So in short, there's a nod to that. Now, what's so incredible about this is that when we look at Batman, first of all, in live action, all of live action Batman, no Batman has had so many different suits. That's the first thing. Then the other thing that's really cool is that all of these suits are literally comic book grounded. Okay, all of them, right? We know this is the New 52. Yes, it comes off of the Christopher Nolan inspiration of The Dark Knight, but nonetheless, New 52 Batman. And of course, the games and the animation, where you have the New 52 Batman in animation with things like Justice League War, etc. And then you have here above this, the mech suit Batman, which definitely is ripped from the pages of The Dark Knight Returns, the novel, the animated movie, etc. Then we have Gotham by Gaslight Batman, which is known as Nightmare Batman. And again, it comes from a comic book, a graphic novel, which is Gotham by Gaslight. And then you have, of course, the standard gray and black Batman, which is first time it debuted in the screen in BVS. And what an awesome time that was. And then we have the blue suit Batman, which is not quite like the Batman from Super Friends and from, Batman 1966, or from the comics, the early Batman, the very first issue of Batman. It's not quite like that, but it does have the blue color, the cowl, the cape, the boots, certain things about it. It's not a complete callback to that, but it does allude to that. So I found that was very nice. Zack Snyder having that blue suit. So that's why I said when it comes to appearance, Ben Affleck's Batman not only has the most suits, but it is the most comic book accurate Batman in film, especially in recent film history. Because again, we're talking not necessarily about one particular suit, but all of them, the summation of all of them. He's got so many different suits, so many different looks, as well as so many different functions. And we were able to also see Batman in his battiness at the same time. So I really like it. And there's a purpose for each suit. You know, you can understand why he's wearing this suit, why he's wearing that suit. And so I just found that that was beautiful how Zack Snyder put that together. And I don't think you'll find any other Batman in live action period that can rival that. Of course, with specific suits, yes, there are Batman that can rival him. For instance, with the blue suit, we know Adam West's Batman is closer to the comic book lore. You know, in live action. When we're talking about, you know, the gray and black suit, we've got some earlier depictions that are not as good, but they're pretty much more accurate to the original black and gray suits. So yes, there are those pointers there. Nobody's done Gotham by Gaslight. Nobody did armor in live action armor mech suit. All right, and so, you know, and you could argue that the Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, was the inception of the tech suit. So you can always argue that. But at the end of the day, when you look at his suits as a summation, you know, nobody even touches Ben Affleck in that regard. And the functionality of the suits and just how Batman behaves and conducts himself in those suits. So I just wanted to share with you guys something else. When we look at the DCEU, one of the connecting threads between every single DCEU movie, Bruce Wayne or Batman has been referenced. If you look at Man of Steel, let me zoom this in so you guys can have a better look at it. Right, so when you look at Man of Steel here, oops, I can't believe I just did that. Okay, all right, when you look at Man of Steel here, if you look in the corner, you'll see a reference here. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see it. And I just pull it across, and it says here, stay calm and wait on Batman. Okay? Stay calm and wait on Batman. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me zoom in a little bit more. See it now. Maybe you can. Stay calm, and there's the bat symbol on top of there. And wait on Batman. I'm sorry, stay calm and call Batman. That's what it says. And call Batman, right? And this is when Wayne Enterprises is being destroyed to hell by General Zod. So it's literally there in Wayne Enterprises as well. And if you move across here to Man of Steel, when they were fighting in the sky, you can see here Wayne Enterprises. All right, Wayne Enterprises down below. General Zod. This is their satellite. And then in Justice League, you see Bruce Wayne. I'm sorry, not Justice League. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. You see Bruce Wayne, and he's on Ground Zero while that was all taking place. All right. And here he is in his mechanical suit, or mech suit, as he was waiting on Superman. That was in Batman v Superman. And then in Batman v Superman, here he is in the gray suit taking on 1, 2, 3, 4 guys. It's so cool. That's probably one of the best action sequences ever. And then in Suicide Squad, here he is as he's going to apprehend Deadshot. Here he is chasing down the Joker and Harley Quinn. In Wonder Woman, we had evidence of him again, Wayne Enterprises truck, and the delivery of a picture to Wonder Woman. Here he is. He's left a note for her. And I found the original. Maybe one day you'll tell me your story. Here she is typing back to him, saying, Bruce Wayne, thanks for bringing him back to me. Okay. And then, of course, he popped up in Justice League. There he is. That's the blue suit he's in there. Really cool. And if I can, I'm trying to get it to move. It's kind of difficult. Here he is in the blue suit once again. That's a blue suit, but because the filming has a slight blue color to it, looks a little bit more black, but it's really blue. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I thought it was really awesome. He's in all 5 DCEU movies. And now I'm going to ask you guys a question. Who is the film director who changed the Victorian look of certain comic book superheroes like Batman forever? Stay tuned for the answer in the next post if you don't know who it is. So if you look here at this post, you may notice that all of the superheroes here, well, it's basically Batman here, all of the Batman superheroes or Batman heroes, they're wearing their underwear on the outside. It's called Victorian strongman wear. Wrestlers used to wear it like that, and there you see them, right? Now the question is, which director changed that so that no longer, especially Batman, for instance, he hasn't for the longest while worn underwear on his outsides. He hasn't. If you look at all the live action depictions in film of Batman, he hasn't. So who was the director that changed the look of Batman? And if you know, pause this video, type out the answer, and then continue the video. All right, let me give you a hint. So the hint is that when you look at all of the Batmans before that, now, as I said before, there were some other accurate depictions of Batman before Ben Affleck's Batman. So Lewis Wilson and Robert Lowry, they both in 1943 and 1949, respectively, they were able to depict Batman, the earliest Batman, in gray and black. Okay, you notice their costume is gray and black. It's kind of, you know, it's kind of lame how it's put together, but it is pretty accurate to the original Batman and the original Batman debut. Okay, not necessarily when he couples up with Robin. And what's interesting about that is that, you know, the Ben Affleck Batman still gives a nod to that. Okay, while at the same time also giving a nod to The Dark Knight Returns. Now, Batman. But I wanted to say, and also in The Dark Knight Returns Batman, he also wore blue and gray at a certain point in time. But that's not the point. The point here is, when did the Victorian strongman outfit change for Batman? So if you pay attention here, in the earliest depictions of Batman, which you see here, from 1943 all the way to 1968, Batman was wearing his underwear on the outside. We were talking about the famous Adam West Batman, which kind of went against everything we knew about Batman at the time. But in 1989, Michael Keaton in Batman 1989 came to the screen, and all of a sudden he didn't have his underwear on the outside. All right, so the question really is, who was the director that did that? From that point on, we never had Batman with his underwear on the outside. In fact, Batman was considered a technocrat. So when we saw most of Batman, he realized he had body armor on. It wasn't his real body you were feeling, but his body armor. And this techie sort of looking Batman arose in 1989. Okay, as a result of, guys, the director who did that. All right, so who was that director? Also, the logo was a little bit different to what everybody knew as a logo. So it started off looking like the symbol you would find in the comic book. If you look here, oh yeah, here we go. See, it looked something like this. All right, then it became something like this, which was much more abstract. And then it changed a bit with Adam West, and then now it got really, really complex. And then they simplified it and made it much more easy to recognize. So who was the director for Batman 1989? That person was Tim Burton. And Tim Burton forever changed Batman's look on the big screen. He's the guy that changed it from a Victorian outfit, and it's never since, Batman has never since in live action film wore his underwear on the outside. Never. And let's just zoom in so you can have a look at the respective Batmans here. Hold on a second. Let me just, there you go, nice and sharp. So let's just go through it here. So from Batman 1989, Tim Burton then went on to have a repeat with Michael Keaton in Batman Returns 1992. And then from there, Tim Burton was sacked by Warner Brothers. They didn't want him anymore. And Mr. Schumacher came on the scene. And we had Val Kilmer. And Val Kilmer, he did for Batman Forever in 1995. And he wore two outfits. One was kind of blue, slightly silverish blue, which is this one here. And this one was black, kind of like the traditional Batman outfit somewhat. Again, it looks kind of plasticky and kind of shiny. And then in 1997, we had Batman and Robin, which George Clooney wore 2 outfits. Both were blue. And this one was blue. And this one was blue as well. Again, no Victorian outfit on the outside. And it's interesting. Tim Burton was going to do Superman, and it was going to be a similar kind of die cast. But just Superman was going to have a red piece, sort of like a G-string kind of thing, like you see there on the outside, kind of like what Robin had, if you guys know about Batman and Robin. But anyway, that's what Clooney did. And then after that, we had Birds of Prey in 2002. I don't even remember that. And again, no Victorian outfit. And then after that, in 2005, we had Batman Begins. Then we had The Dark Knight in 2008. And then we had The Dark Knight Rises in 2012. All right, we're more or less the same outfit. Okay. And we had Batman v Superman, A Dawn of Justice, which is Ben Affleck there. Again, no Victorian outfit. Then we had the pants. And then, of course, we had here Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, the mech suit. Justice League, this suit looks gray, but it's not. It wasn't gray. It was blue. Okay, it was blue. And then we had here the tech suit. The tech suit. It's interesting how they did with the symboling as well as you moved along. So no Victorian outfit. So yes, Tim Burton did change the way how Batman looked on the big screen forever, and Warner Bros. Just went with that. But it was very techy until we reached back to Batman. Once we reached back to Ben Affleck's Batman, they detected him, and he kind of came back to the original origins here that you see here. So if I can just, it was really a callback without the Victorian garb, I guess. A callback to the earlier versions of Batman. So I really love this suit. This suit is very, I think, one of the best suits out there because it's a nice callback to Batman 1949 and Batman 1943, the original Batman outfit. And even the symbol has, the big, nice, fat symbol there. It kind of resembles and reminds us of what Batman used to be, besides it being Frank Miller's design. So I just really like that and appreciate it. It wasn't techie. All right. And then he went into Elseworld here, which was pretty cool. Went into Elseworld right there. And then he did definitely went full blown The Dark Knight right there. And I'm not saying that this is not The Dark Knight as well, but I'm just saying this was cool. And then he went into a sort of homage, if you will, to the blue suit Batman. It wasn't quite it, but it's not also quite techie. Like these blue suit Batmans all looked techie, kind of tech-like. And Christopher Nolan also borrowed off of Tim Burton's techiness, but for once, this doesn't look techie, right? There's a lot of tech under it, but it just doesn't look techie, and that's cool. Of course, the big brawling Batman, and then we had the tech suit, which is, that's the techie one. So I find that really cool, and you can see again, it's very similar to this suit right here, the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises suit, and it's pretty techie, and I find that really cool. So I thought I would share that with you guys. So I thought, let's talk about that here. Let's see what you guys have in the comment section, if you have any comments at all. It's kind of late in the night, it's a work week and all that. Let me just see what you guys are saying in the comment section. So let's see. Oh, some people are actually watching this. That's cool. I haven't put everything on social media yet. So I put some stuff on Facebook, but this is the first place where you actually see everything, and I actually break down everything as well. Okay, so what's going on in the neighborhood? All right, 2 people are watching. That's pretty cool. If you want to, remember, you can chat in the chat section. It's right over there. The chat section, you can check it out. Did I point the right direction? I may have. Yes, I pointed in the right direction. So if you want to, you can chat in the chat section. If not, that's all right. That's what I wanted to share with you guys, basically, is showing you how comic book accurate Batman is, and also just an additional about Tim Burton. And some people are sharing all these weird stuff and rumors about the DCU. I hear this dumb rumor about James Wan that he's scrapping everything from Aquaman. He just trashed everything that was on his iMac, and it's like someone put that up on social media, and I'm like, and some people actually buy into that nonsense. And you know why? It's because they've worked really hard, the spin mill, at making people lose confidence in Warner Brothers and in the DCEU. And that's the thing you guys have to understand. They're trying to make people lose confidence because they know Warner Brothers makes good movies. They know the DCU has good stuff in it. So the dirty tactics that they're using are to try and get people disinterested in the DCEU, because all the ways they could go about doing this, they used critics to do that. I remember when they bashed Suicide Squad, people really enjoyed Suicide Squad. They bashed Batman v Superman, which is a hell of a movie. People realizing that now, so many years after the fact of the movie, they're realizing how good a movie it was. And then we have them trying to bash now Aquaman. That's the same old stupid campaign that they have, and they're going to try and implement the same thing. And people buy into that nonsense. Well, whatever. And the critics are probably going to try and bash the movie as well if they can. So all I'm saying to you guys is you can't believe everything that people say. You have to be able to think for yourself. And I think a lot of people don't think for themselves. They don't. So that's why I told you, don't put your confidence in man. And a lot of people look to experts and stuff. No, you sometimes need to look and view it with your own eyes. Stop trying to view it with someone else's eyes. And that's the problem with people. They don't do that. Anyway, I thought I shared enough with you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Remember, you can also donate and subscribe to this channel. Share the videos. To be able to donate to my channel, simply go to Western Union. You'll need to get my information to send the information to me. You can always do that via inbox, or you can try MoneyGram. I'm more happy to welcome your donations. All right, guys, you have a good night. You guys have a great one.